Think about the absolute disrespect of telling the world that our franchise quarterback isn't actually a real quarterback. National analysts are out here calling him a glorified athlete who can't play on schedule, completely ignoring the historic numbers he just put up. It is time to smash back against these absurd claims and look at what this roster is truly building. If you want to stay ahead of every single major update, rumor, and deep dive breakdown all season long, make sure to like this video, share it with your crew, and hit that subscribe button right now. Are we really going to sit back and let the talking heads rewrite reality while we gear up for what could be a historic run? Before we even look at the disrespect happening under center, we have to look at how this front office is weighing major roster moves to maximize our championship window. Imagine a scenario where you can pull the trigger on a massive trade for an edge rusher before the season kicks off. If the trade capital is identical, do you go after the proven production of Josh Sweat, or do you take a gamble on the raw potential of Kayvon Thibodeaux? If we are making this decision right now, the smart money is on Josh Sweat. He is simply a far more polished, refined pass rusher at this stage of his career. Sure, he isn't going to turn into an elite run stopper overnight, and that is an area where Thibodeaux definitely holds the physical upper hand. But when you are desperate for pure, unadulterated pass rushing juice, Sweat provides the immediate impact you crave. Plus, he is locked down for multiple years on a highly team-friendly contract. Now, that equation can completely flip on its head by the mid-season trade deadline. If Thibodeaux explodes over the first couple of months, his youth makes him an incredibly enticing option if you are comfortable giving him a massive long-term extension. But if it's a choice before the season begins, give me the polished refinement of Josh Sweat all day long. This brings us to a massive burning question about our actual timeline for dominance. Fans are already looking ahead, questioning if next season is the true benchmark for a legitimate championship run, while scratching their heads over a wildly uncertain backfield situation. Let's set the record straight. You do not need to punt on this current year. This team has clawed its way into the second tier of legitimate championship contenders. While we might not be sitting comfortably at the absolute top of the conference hierarchy alongside powerhouses like the Rams and the Seahawks, we are firmly entrenched in that very next group of lethal teams. Next year could easily be even better, but the window is open right now. However, looking at the running back room beyond this season will give you absolute whiplash. As it stands, the only running back under contract for next year is Kyle Manengai. Think about that for a second. DeAndre Swift is staring down free agency at the end of this campaign, and it is highly unlikely the front office hands him an extension in the middle of the season. If he goes completely off, they could absolutely bring him back on a fresh deal, but right now, Manengai is practically the lone survivor on the books. Roscoe Johnson is hitting free agency, Britton Brown is playing on a one-year rental, and Salvon Ahmed is also on a temporary one-year contract. Even a guy like undrafted free agent Coleman Bennett is fighting an uphill battle, unless he shockingly defies the odds and forces his way onto the final 53-man roster. He is getting cut. The front office will undoubtedly explore every imaginable avenue to upgrade the position if Swift falters, but if he delivers another stellar performance, a reunion is definitely on the table. Speaking of future contracts, everyone is wondering about our young star wideout, Rome Odunze. Is he a guaranteed lock for a massive extension down the road? We know the head coach, Ben Johnson, absolutely loves what Odunze brings to the table, so there is zero disconnect there. But remember, Johnson wasn't the guy who drafted him. If Odunze battles inconsistency or struggles to recapture his elite form following that frustrating foot injury, nothing is set in stone. Because he is entering his third season, he will officially become extension eligible next year. At the bare minimum, you can confidently book the team picking up his fifth-year option. But to force the front office to open up the checkbook early for a monster extension after year 3, he has to put up astronomical numbers. We are talking a massive breakthrough of 75 to 80 receptions, 1,200 yards, and at least 8 touchdowns. If he finishes closer to an 800-yard mark, he is still a very good player, but there is zero reason to rush into a massive financial commitment when you still hold his fifth-year option. Time for our question of the day, and I want to see a total war in the comments sections below. Drop your comments right now. Would you rather trade a third-round pick for Josh Sweat or Kayvon Thibodeaux? And do you believe this roster is a legitimate championship contender this year? Let me know your exact thoughts down below. Now let's address the absolute elephant in the room. The relentless disrespect aimed at Caleb Williams has officially reached levels of pure insanity. Former NFL lineman turned analyst Mark Schlereth went on a podcast and boldly declared that Williams is not a good quarterback. It is a completely unhinged take. Did he completely blind himself to the actual tape from last season? When you dive into the analytical data, the numbers completely shred Schlereth's argument to pieces. When operating from a clean pocket, which is the ultimate metric for measuring in structure, on schedule quarterback play, Williams was absolutely lethal. He clocked a 66% completion rate, racked up over 3,000 passing yards, threw 20 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions, and boasted a quarterback rating hovering right around 100. That is a devastating counterargument to the narrative that he is just an erratic playmaker. Does he need to continue sharpening his short area accuracy and hitting the easy layups? Of course. But he also led the league in throwaways for a reason. He displayed elite growth in avoiding negative plays and refusing to take devastating sacks. Trying to label Williams as just an athlete who can't play the position is the exact same trap people fell into with Justin Fields. We gave Fields 3 years to break out of that shell, and he never could. Williams is on an entirely different, incredibly special trajectory. The talent evaluation debates don't stop there, because the tight end position is seeing a massive generational shift. People are asking if Colston Loveland is officially a superior option compared to Tyler Warren. While you can't just issue a lazy blanket statement, Loveland absolutely possesses the higher ceiling. Tyler Warren put together an incredibly impressive rookie campaign, and he is going to be a force, but Loveland simply moves differently on the field. He is an infinitely more polished route runner, his high-end blocking traits are superior, and his massive wingspan gives him a distinct advantage at the catch point. Alongside a superstar like Brock Bowers, Loveland and Warren are forming an elite young trio that will terrorize defenses for a decade, but Loveland has the unique traits to become the absolute focal point of an entire passing offense. Meanwhile, our bitter division rivals are facing some serious internal reality checks. Fans are wondering if the Packers will move off Jordan Love if they suffer another disappointing season. Because of how his massive contract is structured, Love isn't going anywhere for at least the next 2 years. Look, we hate the Packers as much as anyone, but let's be real, Jordan Love is a highly capable quarterback. He isn't Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers, and Green Bay fans have been completely spoiled for decades, but saying he stinks is just factually incorrect. The real cracks in Green Bay's foundation are everywhere else on that roster. Beyond a superstar like Micah Parsons and their starting safety duo, their defensive personnel is incredibly thin. They continue to actively ignore the cornerback position, outside of drafting Brandon Cece. Their offensive line is riddled with massive question marks, and while their receiving room has flash, they are desperately praying for players like Golden to take a major sophomore leap. Love is incredibly volatile and can play like a roller coaster, but their issues run much deeper than him. Switching gears to our own trenches, what is the true ceiling for a young defensive lineman like Jordan Vandenberg? An incredibly accurate athletic comparison for him is a prime Grady Jarrett. Jarrett made a career out of being a hyper-athletic, slightly undersized defensive tackle who could effortlessly shoot gaps, disrupt plays in the backfield, and wreak havoc as a pass rusher. If Vandenberg hits his absolute ceiling, that is exactly the type of disruptive rotational force he can become. Being a 6th-round pick, his low-end floor is obviously not making the cut, but when you gamble on elite athletic profiles in the late rounds, they have a much higher success rate of sticking around. If he can crack the defensive line rotation in year 1, that is a massive victory. Even outside of football, our athletes are making massive waves on the global stage. The national team's run in the World Cup has been an absolute thrill ride. Reaching the round of 16 and completely winning the group means this tournament is already a massive success. Getting blown out by Belgium would leave a sour taste in our mouths, but the initial goals have been crushed. Now, everything else is pure icing on the cake, and there is a genuine feeling that this team can push the envelope even further. A quarterfinal appearance is firmly within reach if they can find a way to stifle Belgium's attack. Back on the injury front, all eyes are on linebacker Noah Sewell. Can he truly return to the field and look like the ferocious, high-intensity thumper we saw before his devastating injury? He showed serious flashes last year, proving to be an incredibly stout run defender with way more baseline athleticism than analysts gave him credit for. He is never going to be an elite asset in pass coverage, but he is a violent, downhill playmaker who fills gaps with authority. You probably don't want him logged as a full-time, everyday starter, but as a heavy-hitting third linebacker rotating in on base downs, he is incredibly valuable. The major wildcard is what he looks like returning from a brutal Achilles tear. To make matters worse, he is entering the final year of his contract. Because that injury occurred so late in the calendar, his immediate future is completely clouded in mystery, and it remains to be seen when he will even be cleared to hit the field. Finally, we have to look at the left tackle spot, which many fans are still calling a massive liability due to a perceived lack of clarity. But let's be accurate, Braxton Jones is the definitive, clear-cut favorite to command that starting job. While it isn't an absolute guarantee, he enters training camp with a massive lead. We are all holding out hope that Kieran Amegadjie can develop into the ultimate long-term answer at the position once he is fully healthy, even if that means he takes a redshirt year and doesn't see the field this season. But right now, Jones is the guy. You can bet Jedrick Wills is absolutely starving to prove that his career is far from over after signing a highly calculated, high-variance flyer of a contract. Wills could realistically earn a starting role or get cut before the season even starts. But the word out of the off-season program is that Braxton Jones is completely healthy. His weight is back up over the 300-pound mark, and he is moving incredibly well. Last year was a total disaster for him because his conditioning suffered and he played sub 300 pounds after the ankle injury, but he looks the part again. If he can just provide solid, serviceable play, the rest of this offensive line is talented enough to carry the load. Keep your eyes locked on the trenches when training camp fires up. Take care, stay locked in, and let's get ready to dominate.